"Can I sit here?" the one-legged girl asked the single dad, her small voice trembling like a leaf in the storm, and for a moment his world stopped spinning. He had seen suffering before, but nothing prepared him for the sight of this tiny stranger clutching the edge of his park bench, balancing awkwardly on a worn crutch, her cheeks flushed from the cold and her eyes full of a loneliness far too heavy for a child to carry. In that single moment, as the wind brushed past them and the late afternoon sun poured gold over the park, something inside him shifted, something deep, something old, something he thought he had buried with every disappointment he had lived through. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and humanity that still shines in dark places, please like, comment, share, and subscribe right now. It helps us tell more stories that matter. He studied her carefully, trying to understand why a girl so young and fragile would be wandering alone. She carried no backpack, no lunchbox, not even a sweater thick enough for the cold breeze that cut across the open field. Only a little bracelet made of faded blue threads hung loosely around her wrist, as if someone once tied it there with love, but that love had vanished long ago. The single dad, whose name was Daniel, felt memories surface, memories of his own daughter, Alina, who used to cling to his arm every time she felt scared after her mother abandoned them. This little girl's eyes had the same silent plea, that unspoken question every hurting child carries, "Will someone choose me?" He shifted slightly, making space for her without saying a word, and she lowered herself onto the bench with slow, careful movements. Her body trembled each time her missing leg demanded balance, and he wondered what kind of pain she had endured to move so gently, so fearfully, as if the world had punished her for simply existing. Her crutch leaned against the bench, wobbling slightly in the breeze, and he reached out to steady it. She watched him with wide, cautious eyes, as if she couldn't believe anyone would help her without wanting something in return. That look shattered him. Daniel had come to the park to escape the weight of unpaid bills, the stress of working 2 jobs, and the guilt of not being able to give his daughter the life he wanted for her. But suddenly those worries felt different, smaller, compared to the quiet storm sitting beside him. Something about the girl carried both brokenness and unimaginable strength. She reminded him of a candle trying to stay lit in a hurricane. As minutes passed, he noticed how she watched families strolling by, mothers holding their children's hands, fathers carrying toddlers on their shoulders. Each time she glanced away quickly, as if protecting herself from what she no longer had. Daniel could see she wasn't just physically tired, she was emotionally exhausted, carrying a kind of fear that comes only from abandonment. He began to realize she might not have a home she could return to. When a sudden gust of wind nearly knocked her crutch over, Daniel caught it just in time, and something inside the girl broke, her composure, her distance, her careful walls. Tears welled up in her eyes, not loud or dramatic, but slow and painful, like drops escaping a heart that had been holding everything inside for far too long. She wiped them quickly, almost angrily, as though she'd been taught that crying made her a burden. Daniel's breath tightened. No child should feel that way, not ever. Time seemed to pause as she looked up with a kind of desperate courage, the kind only wounded souls possess. He felt his chest tighten, realizing what she was silently asking for, a moment of safety, a moment of warmth, a moment of belonging. Something told him that, maybe she hadn't asked anyone for help in a very long time. And maybe, just maybe, she didn't expect anyone to say yes. He didn't have to speak. His presence, the gentle way he adjusted her crutch, the warmth of the bench they shared, everything told her she was not unwelcome. Slowly, her shoulders relaxed, and the stiffness in her posture softened. Even her breathing changed, becoming calmer, as though she finally dared to rest. Daniel wondered how long she had been standing on one leg without rest, how many benches she had passed without asking that simple question because she feared the answer. As the sun began to set, the girl leaned just slightly against him, only an inch, barely noticeable, but it was enough to break him completely. He realized she was learning to trust him. And trust, for a child with her scars, was a miracle. What Daniel didn't expect was how deeply this moment would reshape his life. He would soon learn her name, her story, her battles, and why fate had brought her to him on that cold, golden afternoon. But for now, all he knew was that she was no longer alone. The world had pushed her aside, but destiny had placed her exactly where she needed to be, beside a man who understood loss, resilience, and the ache of a heart trying to heal. And in that silence, something beautiful began, a fragile bond, a shared breath of hope, the beginning of a story neither of them saw coming. If this story has touched your heart even a little, please don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your support helps us keep creating meaningful stories. Before we end, please leave a comment below. What would you have done if this little girl asked to sit beside you? And in the soft glow of the setting sun, the one-legged girl and the single dad unknowingly started rewriting each other's lives.